Good morning, everybody. This is Lindy. Well, you already know that. Nice to talk to you. Um, I'm well. First of all, I'm going to show you my shirt. It says "Thank you, you see B, and for being my friend." T-shirt. Target sold it last year. Loved it. Um, so I don't wear it very often because I don't want to wear it out. So, you know me. I'm thinking. I left large chunks out because I really haven't decided whether to tell some of the things or not. So we're going to go back to when my mother died. And I've decided everybody's passed, nobody can be hurt, so I can tell this. Um, I think in one video I said I first met my dad when I was 16, and then I turned around and said, no, 11. I did meet my dad at 11, when I was 11 years old. And my dad was a very nice man as he grew older. But when he was a young man, he was not very nice. Um, when my mother passed away, all my aunts and uncles came, and my Uncle John, the only brother my mother had, decided that we belonged with our father, that we didn't belong with it, because two of the members wanted to take us, and um, he said, no, they're going to come with me, and him and his wife, and he was going to take care of us. Well, he lied. He lied to my stepfather because my mother never wanted us to be with my dad. So he downright lied. My Uncle John downright lied. And he said, well, I'm just going to take them for a little while and, see how it goes, etc., etc. I don't know what all lies he made up. But his whole thing was he had contacted my father when my mother died. And my father wanted us. And he decided to give us to my father. So my sister said, okay, for vacation, whatever. She's 14, and after my mother died, she changed. She was really wild and mean. And we all changed, every one of us. When my mother died, we, uh, we were lost, all of us. All of us made mistakes. Things happened that shouldn't have, but that's things that you just can't deal with now, 50, 60, 70 years later. You can't do it. Um, so my father came and picked us up from my uncle's house. He took us there. I think we were there a week maybe, and my father shows up. So I didn't want to go, and I said to my uncle, I said, Mother never wanted us to be with Father. Why are you doing this? Well, you belong with your father. You don't belong with your stepfather. Okay, so, my stepfather really doesn't, have to support us and take care of us. He was a very kind and generous man, and he was good to me always. I had no bad feelings. I loved my stepfather, and he was a very good man. Very good man. Stern, but he was good. So we went with my father. Well, I met my stepmother for the first time, Richiko. She was Japanese, and very thick accent. She moved here without speaking much English, um, and my father was her second husband. She had two daughters by her first husband, and one daughter was like 6 or 8 months younger than me, and then the other one was 2 years younger than me. So in the house now, and she had just had a baby about 2 or 3 months before. So she had a 2 or 3 month old baby. She had an 8-year-old, a 10-year-old. My brother was 9. I was 11, and my sister was 13. And this is a lot for a young woman in her mid-20s. So she took us in, and I remember my dad, I used to follow her around because I reacted with my mother's death of trying to find somebody who would love me. Oh, anybody, just anybody. So I followed her around. I helped her around the house anytime she had to hang the wash. I just drove her crazy. We used to talk about it. I would follow her everywhere, everywhere. And one day she said, oh, no, no, you're just underfoot. And we had a crawl space under the house. It was an old house. We lived in Oakland. Um, and it was an old house. And so I crawled under, and there was boxes. And all these boxes were paperwork. Well, I was very curious. I opened up a box that said something about uh, lawyers or something. Well, it was paperwork showing my dad had gone to prison for not armed robbery, but robbery. He had broken into a jewelry store, crashed the glass window, and stolen whatever was in the window, and he got caught. And that was the reason my mother divorced. No one ever talked to us about this. I verified a lot of my story. All the stuff I'm telling you, I re-verified when I was an adult in my 30s, 40s, because most children don't remember all this stuff. So I just thought it was extraordinary that did these things really happen? Did they really happen? And I verified all of it. I verified a lot of it with my dad when we became friends. So I approached my dad and I said, well, what, when he came home, I didn't say anything to Richco, but I said to my dad, what are these papers? You went to jail? Oh, well, let's take a ride. Because he didn't want to talk about it in front of Richiko or my brother and sister. No one ever talked about it. I don't even know if my brother and sister knew he was ever in jail, but he was. So he took me in the car and goes, we're going to go to the grocery store. I have to pick some stuff up and deliver it. And I said, okay. So yeah, I was very bad, and yeah, I needed money, and I said, but I thought you were a bricklayer. Yeah, well, I was drinking, and I needed money, and so I did it. Okay, fine, whatever. So we end up going to a grocery store, picking up baby food, and I'm thinking, well, he's taking it back to Richiko's for the baby. No, my father had a mistress, and I remember German. Okay, so I believe, and I believed it then, that she was a German lady. She had a very thick accent, and she had a baby about 3 months old, same as my stepmother's baby, Susie, and which was my half sister, same father, different mother, and it was a boy. And I went, well, who are these? He goes, well, this is my girlfriend. I'm calling her mistress. This is my girlfriend, and this is my new son. And he was there, and he gave her some money, and he said to her, I can't see you anymore. My wife is getting suspicious, or something to that effect. Anyway, he dropped her. That was the day he dropped her. I don't know what happened to my half-brother. I never met him again. He was 3 months old. Never saw her again. Never heard about her. Of course, I was back east by then. Who knows what happened? But I met her. So then we go home, and a few weeks pass. I think at the most we were with my dad 2 months because my stepfather was having a fit. He couldn't believe my uncle. I heard through the grapevine there was major fights going on in the family because nobody wanted us to be with my father except my uncle. And so my sister, she was always fighting with Richiko. Just everything was wrong. Nothing. She was never happy. She just was never happy. No matter where she was never happy. So one night, my dad comes home drunk. And in order to save money for food, Richiko would hide the money so she would have money for milk and food for the kids, because Dad would drink it all. He would go out, get drunk, and he would not come home till the next morning. I mean, he was horrible. So one night he comes up in and he's drunk, and we were standing in the bedroom. He's yelling and they're fighting, and she's holding the baby, and he takes the baby out of her arms and throws the baby in the air, and the baby lands on the bed, and he hit Richiko. Now, mind you, we're all standing there at the doorway, and I went berserk. He was hitting Richiko, and I jumped on his back, and I weighed maybe 50 pounds, 60 pounds at the most. Jumped on his back and just started hitting him, and he finally threw me off his back into the ground, and he didn't get the money, and he stormed out of the house. Because I was yelling things like, I'm going to kill you if you touch her, whatever. I have no idea why I react the way I do, but I'm very aggressive if someone is hurting someone. So within a few days, we were gone. They shipped us to my aunt Bert. And then she couldn't deal with this. Not my sister. My sister was just becoming uncontrollable all the time. Yeah, I mean, she was uncontrollable. That's, yeah, I just kind of, I slept in the same bed with her, but I stayed away from her because she was really not nice. She was reacting from my mother's death. I know that. Now, you know. But then I didn't understand it. And I didn't understand my reaction, and my brother he had his own reaction, which is his own private business. I'm not going to tell it on YouTube. But he had some serious complications. Um, we end up back in Texas at my stepfather's after 3 or 4 months. So I'm going to stay. Well, then my other aunt calls my sister, and my sister's uncontrollable. My dad can't deal with her. She's always in trouble. She got a whipping. She sneaks out at night and runs away with her boyfriends, and then sneaks back in, and she gets whippings, and it just on and on and on. She was just horrible. She just really reacting. And so she went to my Aunt Mary's. And then she started calling and writing my brother, saying, come, 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 and me. And I said, no, I'm not. I'm not going to stay. I'm going to stay here for a little while. And she got my brother to go. And then I get a letter. I mean, this is only it was just a few months. Maybe by now I was 12. And, well, he's very ill, and he has to be with me. And I need to fly back to Aunt Bert. And Royce and I talked. He says, your decision. And I remember him sitting and talking to me. And he goes, you're more than welcome to stay here and live. But, your aunt, your brother. Okay, so that's when I ended up with my Aunt Bert. But by the time I got to my Aunt Bert's, my brother was no longer there. My father had come and picked him up because he got in trouble. Aunt Bert didn't like him, which is the woman that I went through hell with. But so that's a whole little journey there that I kind of skipped past because I didn't know if I wanted to talk about it. And, some things just don't need to be on YouTube, and my grandkids and son don't need to know it. There's some things I'm never going to tell. And most people never tell some things. But I figure it's been long enough I could probably tell that little story. Richiko passed away. I will tell you, I was very lucky. I had some fabulous step-parents. My stepfather was wonderful. I enjoyed my stepmother, Merle. She married Royce, my stepfather, after my mother died. She was wonderful to me. Every time I visited, I just visited as an adult and met her. Richiko and I were lasting close friends. Not just we were never mother and daughter. I just felt we were close in that I loved her very, very much. She was a marvelous, kind, generous woman to me, and I appreciated her, and I was very lucky with her, and a little bit unlucky with the third wife of my father. She was all controlling, and she really didn't want him having much to do with his kids. She had her own child. Whatever, life goes on. But I got along. We got along. So I was very fortunate to have some very good step parents, and so that's that story right there. So that's a little blob in the middle. I mean, when someone dies, people go bananas. Number one, they look for money. Even if it's a brother or sisters, they'll steal from them. Um, yeah, there's a lot of things that happen when people die. People just don't act right. They just don't behave right, at least from what I've seen. So I'm just going to add that little piece in there. Um, it was after my mother's death. It was very confusing for us three kids, and we were all over the place. And none of us were happy where we ended up. Trust me, except my sister. She ended up with Aunt Mary, who was very wealthy, and she got whatever she wanted. She was spoiled rotten. But that's neither here nor there. So I am done, I think, for that section. I'm going to make it I think a 3.1 is what I'm going to make it. I'm not sure. Because it's addition to the, I've gone beyond 17, the marriage and all that. You guys have a good day. Please give me a thumbs up. And thank you for watching.